We've got, this is the kind of fact I'm digging. Highest damage done as Doomfist in a single game with 15,904.
Now,
I think that's the infamous Hanamura.
Now, is that in Contenders or is that just overall? Because I don't know, you could also be grabbing stats from any game he's played, but it's still impressive. Like, no matter where he did it, that's a lot of damage.
There's a big number.
A lot of punching.
How to deal that much damage? Is that like, is that just how he starts all his Google questions? How to play Genji? And then he plays it. He reads a guide and he plays it. Well, already out the gate, OneShine are able to get set up on the point with this tank composition. Nothing too unsurprising. Yoshimoto kind of looking for the angle in.
And Bellows playing Sombra. It's not Goddess on Sombra. That is another thing that to be very considerate of right now. So OneShine showing a couple of new tricks here. Yoshimoto is showing a couple of new tricks.
Yeah, first I've rebuffed a little bit. It is OneShine who have to get the space. Oh, Puns going down is the first catch there. Goddess as well, able to get that ultimate out, the Coalescence already, and they're going to use that to leverage some good kills coming through in this fight. Should be Hayamen dropping now as well. That is going to be the point going the way over here. How2 trying as he may, but he is going to go down. It'll be the point going the way of OneShine.
And that's the power of getting that initial ultimate out, right? The first ultimate of the game, and so often it does come out of a Coalescence from a Moira. So Goddess coming up with the Coalescence so quickly really swings the fight in OneShine's favor for Yoshimoto Encounт. How2 not having too much success on that Genji. He does have some notable counters on the other side. Sombra and Moira do exceptionally well against him, changing now to his own Sombra.
Once again, it's just going to be Yoshimoto being the ones who need to find their way onto the point. Going to be coming up against some of these ultimates though, so they do have to give a lot of respect, especially things like the Earth Shatter. Yeah, it doesn't quite come out just yet, and Goddess is already down to the self-destruct. One of the few tools they had. Oh, Zenith is dead as well. Didn't even get a chance to Earth Shatter. Bello getting hacked out as well with the right click means he can't commit an EMP. That went really pear-shaped for OneShine.
This is falling apart super quickly for a team that is so far ahead in terms of ult economy. They are losing extremely quick on this point as well. The final members going to get hacked out here. Any remaining members that want to come onto this point, you'll expect them to go down as well. You don't want to feed more members right now. Play your ultimate advantage. You said Zenith didn't quite have the ability to use the Shatter yet. Never got that ability because he got stuck by Pulse Bomb from Nathan.
I mean, that was really interesting. Yoshimoto, I mean, they had some tools of their own. The difference in that fight was they were willing to use them. OneShine didn't commit them, and there were times where they couldn't because they were, you know, hacked out or something like that. But now they can't make that same mistake twice. EMP already out, but countered somewhat by the sound barrier. They do still close out on Mason. They've still got ultimates at their disposal. So now Yoshimoto, they had to find some kind of picks here. Hack comes still to Zenith, so no Earth Shatter, but he may just not even need it. Good Pulse Bomb onto Puns, though. Yoshimoto, they're definitely not done in this one. Zenith still looking for the angle on the Earth Shatter. That should be the one. There we go. Yeah, gets both. That's plenty enough. Going to be able to drop them both, I believe. Took them a little while to get Hayamen, and actually, with that time, they kind of overextend just a touch. Yoshimoto, they seem like they're not quite done here. Mathin's still in this.
Yoshimoto actually have enough members, and they did also use their ultimates, and they still have ultimates to use to come back in right now. Note that they also actually have percentage on the point. They have control of that point, which means all of this time that OneShine are committing, all of this time that OneShine use their ultimates and try to win, they don't get progress. They are now falling behind. 45% was what they started on, but now it's 65 in the way of Yoshimoto.
Oh man, once again, How2 just able to take down Puns there, and Bello also notably swapping off the Sombra, so after not quite converting that EMP, they decided, nope, not quite the time. How2 has been quite slow to charge his EMP though, so that's maybe a saving grace here for OneShine.
But he does have the only EMP now. Bello swapped off onto the Genji, which means OneShine want a quicker approach right now, and they're going to need it. There's not a lot of time left.
Straight dive in from Mason, no hesitation, looking to pop Bello already. Now diving back in onto Goddess, who is popping out the Coalescence. Pulse Bomb in. Doesn't quite get the full mileage, but they've been able to get Gun out of the mech, at least got the self-destruct out of him. But OneShine are the ones getting ahead in the fight now. They kind of weathered the storm from Yoshimoto. The tools that they had at their disposal. Yeah, how to die. How to come back to life. Oh, wait for respawn. OneShine are going to get the point off the back of that, though. Yoshimoto get to re-enter with the EMP, but they need to convert off it.
And that's really important as well for Yoshimoto. They have the EMP, which they didn't when How2 died. He died on roughly about 97, maybe 98%, so just barely missing out there. OneShine now, they had to use resources just to get that point back, and they have to catch up as well. They need to win about 2 fights right now if they actually want to contend for overtime. Otherwise, Yoshimoto can get this off of 1 EMP.
That being said, Bello can get it off of one Dragon Blade, but it is the EMP that comes out quickly and decisively, and the follow-up is equally as decisive. Dropping Gun, dropping Zenith just shy of a Primal Rage. Again, it is going to have to be a... Nope, it's not going to be a Blade out of Bello. He is dead. Gun as well, and that should just be the fight win for Yoshimoto here. This is just the last dregs of resistance.
And another time that we've seen OneShine, unfortunately they have few resources, but they didn't get to commit it. It's that very first fight, or rather the second fight going in, after they had won that first fight off of Coalescence, they couldn't commit. They could not commit the huge string of ultimates that they originally had. That really cost them at the end of the day because they were so far behind on percentage points in terms of actual objective control, and that meant that it was already into the overtime for Yoshimoto Encounт, not giving enough breathing space to the OneShine team.
It is 1-0 up for OneShine, and it was good. There's no two ways about it. They didn't quite have much success initially, but once they kind of made some of those compositional swap-ups, honestly, for the most part, we were just seeing How-To and Maffin getting a lot more done than Bello and Puzzle. Ooh. What? Am I reading that right? Is that...
you read it correctly.
I know what Japanese love hotels are, so I mean, that is a very... That's a heck of a thing for Hayamin to admit.
I love the confidence.
Can respect that.
And also like the confidence in how they're playing as well. Note that they're coming out with a pharmacy combo, so they are now looking for an entry to use this fire to their best advantage. Note the flank around the side is very important for How-To. That's one of the ways that you can really dismantle this kind of setup that OneShine have at the point.
OneShine do get to get on the point though. Oh, the hook not quite enough there. Mason's a little bit low, so they have to kind of respect OneShine's presence on the point, but they are charging up that rocket barrage. They're getting the chip damage in. What they need to convert though is kills. Oh, that's rough.
Coalescence for Goddess as well. The first ultimate of the game, again, so impactful, but How-To should have an angle, or at least needs to look for an angle.
Oh, they've got Mason. He comes in. He's got the angle on the backside. He does go down straight away to Bello, though. Pulse Bomb trades that one back. So actually, Yoshimoto are very much still in this. They only lost How-To realistically there, and Mason is going to be able to rejoin this fight in just a moment. Maffin's finally going down, but here's the rejoining of Mason, as I said a moment ago, and with that, Yoshimoto just had the point presence.
And it's not just the fact that the barrage was used, it's specifically where it was used and who turned around for it, because one of the ways, again, that you break open the setup on the point is you got to get that flank from both sides. So the fact that How-To came around the backside, use a rocket barrage, you cannot ignore a rocket barrage, you have to respond to it. Half of Yoshimoto Encounт were not prepared for then the assault coming out from halfway OneShine rather not prepared for the assault coming out from Yoshimoto Encounт. The pulse bomb stick from Maffin as well killed. I believe it was maybe Goddess, but it actually got most of Gun's HP down as well.
Self-destruct is just going to get blocked up by Zan's shield there. And actually it means OneShine got onto the point. Yoshimoto didn't really do much about that in that rotation. They just kind of threw out the self-destruct and kind of hoped. And with that, OneShine getting on the point. Also committing the ultimates, it results in a fight win, means the point can't get flipped straight back off them. But Yoshimoto are going to make some changes here. This is a bit of an odd spot for them now.
It is, and it also isn't. Right now, Maffin is finding it reasonably difficult as a Tracer to get a lot of damage done against big tanks. Pulse Bomb is good, but Pulse Bomb doesn't come up often enough, unfortunately. So, double AoE damage, double tank busting. You got fire in the sky, you got Junkrat on the ground. You should expect a lot of damage to go on top of these tanks. OneShine should not be able to survive for too long.
Oh, Rocket Barrage stops up the tire and forces OneShine back. Now, here is that kind of pummel in from the side. Honestly, How-To being able to just wrap around with their self-destruct out, but the rest of the team not quite so lucky. Mason down, ooh, a little bit rough. Honestly, How-To and Maffin are going to have to get a lot more work done than just this. OneShine, this tanky shield combos, right now are working wonders for them, and they're looking to even up the score here on the ball.
Yeah, they're certainly able to do that. The fact that they're getting additional picks as well. The remaining members from OneShine just don't have the HP like the Yoshimoto don't have the HP that the OneShine members do with those big tanks. I know that's in slow motion, but that one felt particularly slow for some reason.
Even slower motion. It's like those like really high frame rate cameras, and then you slow it down. It's like there's slow motion, and then there's like
too slow motion.
It's a bit too slow, yeah. Like I feel like I'm viewing. Like, I feel like I'm looking at like the subatomic level or something like that. Like I'm viewing something like that shouldn't be possible.
So now it is going to be 1-1 tied up on the pull. How2 did briefly hover over the fire there, contemplating whether that was going to be the right choice. But now it's going to be Yoshimoto playing as a full Genji dive into a fire, which will be reasonably hard for Yoshimoto.
Also going to be a first for them, at least with How2 in the mix. So we'll have to see how Bello executes on this Farah, because How2 hovered it, but Bello just committed. V-Clock's the first casualty though. Trade back is there, and that does mean Yoshimoto lose a bit of the frontline presence that they maybe need in this situation. But having killed both their healers, they could convert on those tanks. I like the conservative option of just going for the point instead.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick and easy cap. And actually, the fact that Yoshimoto got reasonably aggressive there, trying to lock OneShine up onto a back position, into a corner, that's one of the ways you can really stop the fire runner, because once the fire gets out into the open, once OneShine takes some control over the open space, that's where Bello can get a lot of work done.
Now, just looking to get the entry. That should be it. Popping Maffin. How2 is still waiting on that Dragon Blade. So OneShine need to kind of convert on this window as quickly as they can. Piling in, but not quite getting the conversion just yet. Yoshimoto ready to fight back. Mason in the nick of time with the Blade as well out of How2. That's the turnaround. Puns and Zenith. That Primal Rage burst was really key because they preserved a bit of frontline. Otherwise, How2 would have died way too quickly with that Blade. So Yoshimoto holding on just long enough to get those key tools up.
And also getting additional kills off the back end as well. B-Clock 05 dying late means a late respawn. OneShine already onto the back foot. Bello now changing onto a Genji. That's when you know things are not going correct. When you, on paper anyway, having the superior composition, need to now drop that to go to the same composition to match your opponent, and you're behind an ultimate charge. That's feels bad.
And that's the thing. Oh, wow, yeah, B-Clock, while he was channeling the sound barrier, that, I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. OneShine, though, have kind of recovered from that situation. Gun as well with the self-destruct makes some space. They lose Bello, though. B-Clock, he will be able to re-enter in a moment. The dive is good onto Goddess, and this presence is still here from Yoshimoto. They're still playing proactively. Self-destruct from Saint means he can preserve his mech, even catches puns in that, which was just kind of a bonus at that point. They do at least get a conversion on Mason, but this isn't a fight that OneShine are necessarily winning, at least not yet. There is still the risk that they lose it, and it's not like they're gaining progress on the point. They're playing very unconservatively here, but now they've passed the point where they have a choice. It's 99 for Yoshimoto. I think it pretty much is it, because OneShine never really recovered to full strength after that opening pick on B-Clock while he was channeling the sound barrier, and the landslide towards the end results in 100-0 on Sanctum, and Nepal win for Yoshimoto.
That's a really unfortunate way to go out for OneShine Esports over there. They had a decent showing across the entire, I would say, both of the starting maps in Nepal, but now going into Sanctum, yeah, 100-0, that is a big turnaround. That is a big swing in favor of only one team. So OneShine now, they got to gather it back around, they got to put it back into sense, and come fresh for map number 2. Yoshimoto weren't necessarily in control the entire time on Nepal, but certainly they were on Sanctum.
And even then, on Shrine, they were relatively in control. It wasn't a full-on thing, but certainly once they'd kind of swung the momentum in their favor, they never really lost it. Chaos Theory in the crowd, smiles on their faces. They're just happy to be here.
Yes, and they're like, we won.
Yep.
I don't know about you guys, but we won our match.
Yeah, just looking at them like, oh, well, only one of you can win. Like what we did.
Lording it over everyone.
Yeah. They're just going up to Bazaar like, oh, I see,
yeah.
Hey, I see you didn't win. Well, we did just now, so.
One thing is clear, none of these two teams will be able to match Chaos Theory's match score rather. They end 2-3 in the season. Woo. The best that we can hope for either OneShine or Yoshimoto is a 1-4, but the other team has to finish 0-5. Now, Bazaar finished 0-5, but they did get that final map. They didn't go down without a fight. It's like Terminator 2 when you go down, but you got the thumbs up. That's what you got. You're dripping in the lava, but you got the thumbs up.
I mean, sure. I feel like it's more like Scrappy Doo, like, let me at him, but like he's useless. It's the most annoying character on that show, man. Which is saying something. Because like, by rights, when you think about it, every character on Scooby-Doo should be really just mind-numbingly annoying. But it works, it's hilarious. Until they introduce Scrappy Doo. It's kind of like when they introduced that green alien to Flintstones. Like, that's when you knew they were circling the drain, eh? They were out of ideas. They'd jumped the shark, man.
I've not seen either of those
shows.
No, I've seen them, but not to the extent where I'm going to be able to be like, I remember
you know what? That really was when the Flintstones went into narrative decline.
1970.
I wrote an essay on it. Yeah. Do you know that Seth MacFarlane used to work for Hanna-Barbera Cartoons? Before he was like the Family Guy, he worked. Well, like that was one of his early jobs as an animator. He worked for Hanna-Barbera.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, and you know, of course, he like made Flintstones and a lot of famous cartoons, Jetsons as well. Apparently those shows share a universe. It's a bit weird. Who else shares a universe? Us, here in the real world, where these two teams are playing a game in a fictionalized
version of the real world.
A fictionalized version of the real world, where we're going to Hollywood. That was a terrible segue.
Which is also going to be OneShine's map pick. You do also expect out of both of these teams that they should be trading maps. They should, much like we saw in Nepal, they should be going reasonably even in maps. So if Yoshimoto win this one, you would expect OneShine to maybe come back for Assault. Maybe OneShine win this one and Yoshimoto win Assault, but they should be fairly even. Both of these teams have thrown a lot of punches this season now against each other.
I don't know, I'm predicting 1-3 Shine. I don't know, I would actually have to agree in all seriousness, but there is also that factor of often we see a relatively close Nepal that kind of goes one way, and then it kind of starts to landslide from there. Failing that, it can often landslide from that break onwards, where teams are able to kind of go away and readdress what happened. So I think if this map here, if Hollywood doesn't go the way of OneShine, then I do see Yoshimoto just kind of closing this out pretty convincingly. Probably is a 3-1, if not even a 4-0. So I feel like this is the point for OneShine to really turn it on.
Yeah, and it's not just being even and kind of trading maps evenly. It's also within the maps themselves, right? You need to see both teams having some pretty competitive showing. So if in this case, Yoshimoto attacking first, if they finish a map, you also expect OneShine to be able to finish a map. That has to be the expectation for both teams going into this matchup. They need to be, well, they should be that close.
Should is a very loaded word. That's the unfortunate truth of it. So you see OneShine on the defense first, which means that Yoshimoto have opted to attack. It's popping. What's popping, Jimbo?
5, 4, 3, 2.
If corn gets too popped, does it just burn? That happens, right?
Yes. Have you never burned popcorn?
No, I always cook it perfectly. Why is that so
weird? You're like that guy who's like, I can cook minute noodles in 58 seconds. Like, that's what that is. I always cook my microwave popcorn perfectly. Like, what a brag. Like, what are you, a robot? Everyone burns microwave popcorn at least once. Yoshimoto, speaking of, kind of feeling the heat as their first dive going for right here. The tank's popped. Bet looking to get dropped here as well. How to? Oh, that's a little rough for them. And OneShine even getting follow-up kills now. That's a pretty solid defense.
I was going to say, maybe even Saint gets left alive as the only person so I can tell the tale, spread the tale of how everything went down. But nope, no survivors of that push. OneShine definitely showing their worth right now, coming up with some big ultimates. Goddess has just been so quick with Coalescence this entire match so far. Bello, though, and Puns for that matter, might get one up on it.
Hopefully, they have already lost Saint's mech on the gate of that one, plus the EMP committed out of Bello. So this should just be, again, a clean sweep here for OneShine, and a very cheap one at that.
Note that Pun's actually used a Pulse Bomb there, already nearly halfway to his next one. That's kind of the power that EMP does have. Now look at the other three ultimates from Zenith, Gun, and B-Clock05. They're getting that because they charged it off the kills that you got from the EMP. Now you can start rotating. You win with these other ultimates, you get that EMP back again for the next fight.
That being said, this is the opportunity for Yoshimoto to get some KP in this one. Then, yeah. Oh, there we go. How2 with the Dragon Blade out. He needs to get something through here. Yeah, Bet having to keep How2 topped off, and they've only got the one kill so far as the blade gets put away. But Maffin, he doesn't really mind. He's willing to just get the kills on his own anyway.
Oh, wow.
They have lost some crucial members, though. Mason's only just respawned. Self-destruct beautifully placed as well, just zones them out of the picture, at least for a moment, but now they can hold on for long enough. Mason has the closer respawn, he can rejoin the fight. Yoshimoto, they should be able to reinforce their numbers here. The pop guns mech as well, which realistically takes him out of the fight. Death certainly takes him out of the fight along with B-Clock. They have been able to hold on for long enough while converting the kills to replenish the numbers and get the point.
Finally getting themselves one tick as well. You got to kind of think at this point, YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT, do they even want to come back in? They're kind of positioning for it. They do want to go for a one last fight game. They have abilities. They have an EMP. This is still winnable.
And there's the EMP straight in, but Zenith dies to a pulse bomb that had already been stuck on him. Plus they drop Bellow, so I mean, they're getting something, but it's not quite going the way that OneShine were expecting, and Saint being able to use that self-destruct. Again, it keeps a lot of presence in the fight. Another coalescence from Bep. Their respawns are still closer, but they're not even going to need to replenish their numbers before the fight ends here, because the fight's basically over, and they'll get the point cap right after.
This is the one thing that you got to be able to consider, though. For YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT, they had to use a reasonable amount of ultimates just to clean up that attack. 3, if not 4 there, from Mason, Saint, and I believe it was Bep as well, the Coalescence. So now they kind of have to walk into this next beat push somewhat dry, but with the Dragon Blade coming up.
I mean, you say that, but then they've also managed to get a stagger kill on Goddess, then another one on B-Clock. So they've got a lot of space here. They've got a lot of room. You see this forward setup here. The cart hasn't quite moved far forward enough, but OneShine are in that really awkward spot where they're kind of having to fight to take back what should be their high ground on the defense. And this is with YOSHIMOTO having now rotated into ultimates. They trade Zenith for Mason, but How To with the blade out is getting so much work done. The Coalescence as well. Again, it's all these same ultimates, and you may call it costly, but it's keeping the momentum.
And note that while all of that was happening, the cart continues moving. So important for the attacking team here as YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT, not just to take the high ground, the same high ground that your OneShine want to take on their own defense, but to then also force the fight away from the cart. When you're that close, OneShine have to deal with you right there where you decide, and they cannot stop that cart.
Bello needs to get a big EMP in here. He's got a decent position on it. Oh, Hayaman not quite able to make it back to the health pack, and with the headshot of Mappin as well. I don't know that the EMP was even necessary at that point, but what's done is done. They are going to be able to close out the rest of the fight without too much trouble. But that could be kind of a good thing for YOSHIMOTO, right? Because now that tool not being on the table means they may be able to get past what OneShine have.
But at the same time, it's also not a huge deal. First of all, they're going to get a nice stagger on the Saint. Slow things down just a little bit, and we need breathing room for OneShine right now. The other thing to consider is there are 4 coming up to 5 ultimates that OneShine do have. You can afford to give away an EMP now because you have so many other tools.
And that's the other thing, right? EMP is so great for rotating into literally everything else, and then vice versa. It flips back the other way. So YOSHIMOTO need to get a lot of conversion out of this pulse bomb, or just kind of frag out and get the pressure in. Valkyrie early from Goddess, matched by Hayaman. Sound barrier, B-Clock holding onto his for a more crucial moment. Lobbing in the self-destruct, not quite the placement that Saint was after, as OneShine start to come out the better of the fight, just with those couple of picks. Yeah, now closing off on How To. YOSHIMOTO, they know they need to pull out of this, but OneShine know it too. They're able to get a few on the pullback.
So this is the thing, YOSHIMOTO ENCOUNT have also been using ultimates during that attack, which means they don't have advantage on top of OneShine. They will have a blade, but a single blade may not be enough. If it gets hacked out, that's the end of your blade. You're not going to get anything done. And Bello, he's got a hack, and he's very nearly got an EMP as well.
And that's the thing, he's just continuing to play that game. Like we said, you know, you rotate into every other ultimate, then you rotate into the EMP. And there's this narrow window before Bello's got it, but realistically, he's got it as soon as the fight breaks out. Hayaman is already dead as well.
Yeah,
Quick EMP connect. Yeah, the blade is just done. So How To should have maybe been more conservative with that in the first place. Recognized that EMP was going to be a threat. YOSHIMOTO, that momentum that they suddenly were able to keep on point B has now just been completely lost.
Even that final kill on the Saint, that was almost even unnecessary. Just leave him alive. He has to swap heroes back onto a mech and then reset that ultimate charge. They're already behind on ultimates as it is. How To changing heroes completely, looking for a little bit more with the Widowmaker instead of the Genji, but all they got is a Coalescence.
At least OneShine don't have too much in their own right. At least not right at the top of the fight. Oh, Maffin's already dead, so Bello just getting flat out flanked, and Bello just wants to get to the thick of it, right onto the back line. Hayaman dead to the self-destruct.
Duel.
Yeah, it's looking like that's going to be it here for YOSHIMOTO. That is all the distance they're going to get. And it's a shame because they got all that distance off one continuous push. Yeah, the self-destruct from Saint not going to be enough to turn it back around. Like I said, one continuous push, and then got stopped up, never went any further.
That's the thing about destabilization on defense, right? We've seen many times a defensive team, when they get that stabilization, you commented, maybe the EMP wasn't necessary. I'm going to say it was, because you need to be able to secure the defensive fight. If you can win one, then start rotating into other things, you will win more. But the most important thing is you have to win that one. That's what OneShine did.
Exactly. It's digging that trench. It's fortifying the position. It's being set up. And, I mean, in that last fight, that was actually the opportunity, the first time since they'd started losing, for Yoshimoto to turn it back around. That was one of those times where, like, execution is king, because no one has any particularly massive advantage, at least at the top of the fight. And it is one of those times where you can just out-frag your opponent. And that time it was OneShine out-fragging, where I have to say in the past it has tended to be Yoshimoto. So absolutely paying off for OneShine.
Now coming into the attack for OneShine, the defense for Yoshimoto, already just looking at the defensive heroes, the ones that are immediately locked in, the ones you expect them to be able to commit to. How to on the soldier, and then looking at the other side, expecting potentially Bello to come on the fire, which he has done a reasonable amount so far, at least onto Nepal. Yoshimoto should be somewhat set up to deal with what OneShine are doing. One thing I will be somewhat interested in seeing, and maybe a little bit less interested, because I just realized Goddess is not playing the Mori. It's B-Clock 05 on the Mori, but I was going to say Goddess has been charging ults incredibly fast. Can he get another quick coalescence? But now that role is off to B-Clock 05. That's about the most zen thing I've seen.
Yeah, I like to imagine.
Except for the chairs.
I like to imagine that how-to is just looking up guides for each of these heroes before he plays them, like how-to soldier, how-to Pharah, how-to game.
I feel like if you're doing that at this level of play, you're doing it wrong.
If you're doing that at this level of play and playing as well as how-to is, then you're pretty godlike. That's what we should really say about that. But OneShine able to get a position, diving into the restaurant. Yoshimoto getting hard pressured, notably how-to. They need to start getting some damage back on them. OneShine now rotating onto the point. It's pressure on Yoshimoto to dislodge them.
No tech.
Yeah, stopping them just shy of the tech, but they need to convert. They get gun smack. Now they've got gun. That's the conversion they need. And how-to being able to stay alive here. They're pouring a lot into keeping him alive on the defense, but it is absolutely paying off. Resin onto gun. He remixed, but by the time that's all happened, Zenith and B-Clock are already dead. They've lost enough presence here. Goddess as well down late in the fight. Doesn't matter that Mason died. He will be able to get back into this. Gun's going to get staggered out here as well.
And that's the thing about keeping how-to alive though, right? He's a soldier. He's one of the core facets of this defense. If he goes down, a lot of this defense goes down. A lot of the damage potential is gone. So the fact that how-to took a lot of damage, but his Yoshimoto Encounter that was able to look at that damage, say, you're not going to kill him today. A lot of healing coming back out of play. The damage he does is very impactful, already onto a visor.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Now that that visor's up, Bello and Goddess both are playing a much more dangerous game here. You're already seeing the wraparound here from Maffin. They're not going to let, yeah, it does get eaten, but they're not going to let OneShine just walk in. Bello's dead before he even got a chance to use that rocket barrage, and all these ultimates on the point from OneShine. It's a lot of commitment for very little payoff. Zenith and Pun's both dead, and how-to barely staying alive. It ended up being a bit expensive for Yoshimoto to maintain that defense, but for how much OneShine threw in the mix there, it's well worth it.
And time again, this is the second time in a row now for Yoshimoto Encounter. The strategy is very simple here. All you got to do is kind of buffet that attack from OneShine. You know they're going to dive into you. You're kind of like the coast right now. That wave will hit you, but if you survive, you're good. This is when you can start to counter punch. And Yoshimoto, their counter punches have been hurting.
I mean, that's the long gun, short gun. It's protect the soldier. Then once he's safe, you can start hitting back. Once their dive has not been successful. But this time with the rocket barrage, if Bello can get a good angle, it's going to change that tune. You cannot outlast that damage, but they've already lost Zenith. Bello's getting pressured, and if they go another fight without being able to commit this, it's going to be super rough. They res Zenith in. There we go. Now the hit back comes in with the kill onto Hayamin. They are getting some trade back still. Bello's too low to commit this. He goes down to Maffin. Too low down to the ground. how-to did finally die though, and he had a tactical visor when he went down. Unless Maffin can just kind of 1v2 here, which I don't believe he can with both Puns and Gun in the mix. But hold on, as I say that, Gun's quite low. He's not done here. He's just ducking and weaving.
Maffin's actually bought a reasonable amount of time for the rest of his team to respawn and re-enter. how-to's already visored. I don't even know where he is, but the damage is certainly available.
He does unfortunately go down there, but not before getting Gun's meg though. Bello finally finally able to commit a rocket barrage here. And that will mean Yoshimoto can't hold out this point any longer. But man, Maffin and Hayamin, just between the two of them, nearly did it.
That was almost very nearly a successful hold from Yoshimoto Encounter. And the first time that How2 dies, that is when OneShine actually are able to cap on through. You then died again because you can never really respawn and regroup with the rest of his team. Caught off into the side, had Zenith in his face, and that unfortunately was not going to be a good enough visor to secure the defense. But now, on to B, Widow versus Widowmaker duel. How2's got another opportunity.
It's time to I can't do the D fast enough, but you know the joke.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting. We're also going to get the first taste of How2's Widowmaker. So he's just looked up another guide. And not quite connecting the headshots that he needs just yet, but it's not like Puns really has either.
At the same time, though, stopping the card up is very important. Killing Puns is better here.
Even better than is killing B-Clock. Oh wow, Mason opting to not Primal Rage there. The res coming into B-Clock, I think that absolutely is a mistake. Because now Hayamin is getting heavily pressured.
That's always hilarious.
Going down to a Mercy, I mean, but that's the thing, is like, the Mercy kind of can do that. Again, Maffin finds himself in a situation where he's like, really, I'm the only one again? And if Mason had Primal Rage, they could have started closing out the fight from there.
It is always hilarious to see a Valkyrie Mercy against a Widowmaker, but it's actually one of the best counters. Valkyrie Mercy challenges a Widowmaker so effectively, and a Widowmaker can't hookshot away. Valkyrie can fly. Mercy will just chase straight after you secure that kill. But you're absolutely right. Mason, had he used a Primal Rage, we may have seen that defense work.
How2's already dead, and I was going to say he can use it now, but OneShine do just have so many more tools. I was going to say one of them being the EMP, which has already been committed out. At least Mason got the Primal Rage off in time. Hayamin gets a Valkyrie in, but Saint's already lost the mech. They're not getting kills either. Maffin is going to have to start really popping off here. Saint goes down. Hayamin looking maybe for an angle on a res somewhere, but now Bep's dead. Could have used a Coalescence, didn't quite get a chance to do so.
Again?
Now Hayamin, no! Not going to be a second time. I think that's going to be it here for Yoshimoto. OneShine should be able to continue to push on back through. And that one not committing that Primal Rage has kind of snowballed out of control here for Yoshimoto. It is going to be that tying up 1-1 here for OneShine. We have definitely got a series going.
Yeah, these two teams look very competitive, and that was definitely the expectation coming into this matchup, I would suspect, because both teams kind of hovering around that bottom side, both teams sitting at 0-4 looking for their first win. And they're going to fight tooth and nail for that first win because, I mean, right now, 1-4 on the scoreline, that's kind of all you need to know.
Look at that Genji. That's the thing, for all of what he can do with that blade, it was not enough to get really all that far on B, unfortunately. So, tied up now.
With that blade, to be quite honest, they got a reasonable amount of distance. It was after they got after they got
after that, exactly.
That's where the problem started. But everything before then was pretty fantastic, and with that,
that's kind of what's so unfortunate about it as well. I mean, it's interesting because Yoshimoto, when they are kind of going off, when they're firing on all cylinders, when the coordination is there, when the execution is there, when things are going right, when they're playing how well they can play at present, they're winning. But they can't do it consistently enough to win all the time. And that's the thing. It kind of feels like when both of these teams are, you know, throwing their best punches, Yoshimoto do throw them harder, but the consistency just isn't there for them.
Well, we'll see who's got the stamina to make it to round 12 of this boxing match between Japan and Thailand. That all happens right after this break.